Please listen carefully.
Welcome back to the Focus Target Podcast. This is your host, Smiley. With me, as always, Van and Shai. Been a couple weeks, fellas. I missed you. How's it going?
Howdy.
Going awesome.
Got Grogu chilling with us today on Shai's chest. He looks like he's in a little like chest pouch or something.
Mm-hmm. We got the Golden Knights, who are 8 of the last 10 games. Woo woo. And you get one of those Golden Knight sirens. Woo.
Nice. Sheeny will love that.
You know, we'll see whether my wife still wants to be with me in a couple weeks because I ordered a drum kit because I wanted to start playing drums down in my basement.
Why would you do that to
for a while.
her?
I don't know. She approved it, but we'll see if we'll see how much she still loves me once I start actually banging the drums at all hours a day.
Was she like delusional under lack of sleep and overwork?
That's
and...
certainly possible. It's
Okay.
certainly possible. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
But
What kind of set did you order?
really cheap.
I don't even know brand and all that stuff, but
No,
like a 5-piece like drum
No,
set.
just like I think it's a 4-piece. I think it's
Okay.
just it's a really small compact one, super cheap. Just I want to just mess around with it, and if it's something I really get into, maybe I'll upgrade and get like a real kit. But if
Yeah.
it's something kind of like the trumpet, where I started it and I liked it, but I didn't really get that into it. I
So
didn't want to
probably
invest
has a
heavily.
probably has a bass drum, right, with your
Yeah,
foot kick. Probably
yep,
has a hi-hat, maybe has a
yeah.
ride cymbal, one tom and a floor tom and a snare, I would guess.
I think it's a snake. I don't know what a lot of those words mean,
Okay.
so probably I'll send you a picture of it offline.
Gotcha. I
A
can't wait to see it,
cymbal,
man.
two like a cymbal, a snare, a drum, and the bass drum,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So
There you go. I like it, dude. So how's your not to take over the podcast, but I love music and instruments and all that fun stuff. And I just thinking this is a start of a great band. Like you play the drums, Shai plays the oboe. What do you play, Shai? Is it the oboe?
I don't really play anything. Nope.
What were you dabbling in?
Cello is what I was dabbling in for a bit.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could do like
cello,
Soldiers music.
oboe.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool.
Maybe we'll do our own intro music one day.
There you go.
Well,
Those
that
are
would
very,
be cool.
very discordant instruments to try to pull together into a cohesive band.
Maybe it'll make something a unique sound that you just don't hear every day. See,
Oh,
what I want
we
the
make
drum
a
really
unique
what I
sound.
want the drums for. Let me be honest. What I want the drums for is I like to listen to music and like play as if I'm like the second drummer and like play like alternate
Nice.
drums. Like if you've ever seen like who is it? I can't remember now. There's a couple bands that have like 2 drummers and they have like dual drum lines. I just think it's awesome. So I think there's a lot of songs that could benefit from that. So
Look, we might be getting some fact checking going on here.
There's like 2 bands that have like 2 drummers.
38 is it 38 Special?
Oh yeah, 38 Special. Yep. ABBA. Oh, I didn't know ABBA had 2 drummers.
ABBA does? Oh shit.
Evidently, maybe they did
Love
like an
ABBA.
album with 2 drummers. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
All right.
yeah, let's move on.
Journey. I mean, that's
Sorry,
not
people.
cool.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah. Sorry about this, podcast listeners.
We need we're gonna need a recurring bit now on a drum update from Smiley.
Drum
We're like,
update.
yeah.
Well, hopefully,
See, this is the beauty.
they've been shipped. They should be here in a couple by next week. By next pod, I should say.
All right. Well, you got to send us a picture. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll post it on Twitter for everybody to see
There
what
you
we're
go.
talking about in real
There you
life.
go.
So,
There you go.
but this is the beauty of having our own podcast. Like we get to
That's
talk
right.
about
Yeah.
things that we
Oh,
want to.
Already got
This is the
drums.
beauty of having our own podcast and no listeners is that we get to talk about whatever
Yes,
we
and nobody cares, and no sponsors. So
And we're not under contract with the Buffalo Sabres, so we can't, they can't tell us
Yeah,
what
we
instrument
can
to play.
That's
We
right.
can get any surgery we want. Exactly.
These are Sarah's generously donated her drumsticks to me to let me play with
She
them.
owned
Sure,
drumsticks.
Because she used to play drums back in like high
What?
school.
Oh, she's gonna
Yeah,
school you, dude.
Yeah, she is. She's gonna. Well, that's why she's gonna be really embarrassed. She's gonna be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing."
Yeah, she's
But
gonna be like, "There's a
that's
freaking
all right.
toddler in my house." But I have my drumsticks nearby, but I don't know where they are.
Okay, so today's podcast, Final Fantasy 11 Report, Volume 2. We're gonna go through kind of what we've been up to in Final Fantasy 11. It's been a while. I know there's a lot of people who are interested in our Final Fantasy 11 stuff. A lot of people, like the 3 of us. That's
there's
the
at least
3's a
2
lot,
here,
right? Yeah, there's
right?
at least two of us are interested in the other people's stories, I think. But anyway, so we're gonna get into that. We're gonna do a question of the day first, though. Question of the day. Last time, if you can remember all the way back, we talked about the we had a hockey podcast, right? And so we had a previous question today about the podcast before that, but we wanted to do like an update because it'd been a while. We'd been on hiatus. So 2 episodes ago, before we took our big break, we did Ready Player One. We talked in depth about Ready Player One. I think we actually did 2 podcasts on it. And so a follow-up question to that discussion that I wanted to get to you guys that we didn't have time for was about Ready Player Two. So Ready Player Two, the sequel to Ready Player One, has come out in book form. It's been out for probably almost a year now. Like I think it was around this time last year that it released. And so my question for you is: now you both read Ready Player One, you've watched at least parts of the movie, I believe. Um, do you? What's your
Some
interest
people
level?
own it, think it's the
Some
greatest movie in the world.
who amongst you is interested in Ready Player Two? Do you plan to ever read Ready Player Two? I will start with Shy.
I don't know. We'll see. It's not on my immediate radar.
Just because like you didn't like one enough, or you're just
No,
worried
I loved
you'll
one.
tarnish it, or like
No,
yeah, like
I'm not doing a lot of reading right now. And then when I do start reading, I've got a bunch of Brandon Sanderson books on backlog. So like I need to get through like
argue with
the
that.
second arc of the Mistborn trilogy before I would even consider reading another book. And so it's like we're talking
Yes.
probably at least
Especially
6
since
months out, if not a
especially
year.
since the fourth one of
Um,
that is coming out
yeah,
this pretty soon, I think.
yeah. So we're talking 6 months to a year before I would even consider reading Ready Player Two.
Okay, fair enough. So it's not, but would you say it's that there's not a desire that you? It's not that you wouldn't read it, or you don't want to read it. It's more that there's more
It's
important things going on both in your life and on your reading
Well,
list.
and maybe I didn't
So
hear
it's not
you. The question in the document was, "Are you planning to?" And the answer
right.
is, "I'm not planning to." So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's not because I don't want to, but it's just not a plan because of other
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
Fair enough. What about you, Van?
No. I really liked one, but the only way I'll read two is if the two people here make me read two. And right now
All
it sounds
right.
like they're not.
I
So
am
then the
not.
answer is no.
I am not going to make you ever try to read a book again in my life. This, this has been an ordeal that has lasted like literally
It has
5 years.
actually. Yeah.
So no
It's
more.
literally been
You,
it's literally been like 2 years in the making.
you
Like
can read what you want, or not read what you don't want. I'm done. I'm done with that.
well then, there's your answer.
All right.
This
That's
Likely
just
not.
there could be a genius idea here. The next time we get together for a weekend, Smiley could just read the book to us out loud, and that could be how we read
I
the
like
book.
it.
as
I
we're
like it.
like driving places and stuff.
No, I know what we do. I know exactly what we do. You build a campaign
Oh dear.
around the book. So that everything we experience in our campaign is literally the book, and then at the
Um,
end of it, you're like, "Ha! There's Ready Player 2."
yeah, not tell you guys. Be like, this is just
Right,
D&D, and then you guys like, oh man.
right.
We're like we
See,
create our character and Smiley sends it. We submit it to him. And he sends it back like, but it's a different character with a very specific name and like attributes. And we're like, that's not what I sent you.
That's my name H.
Wait, my character? Wait, hold on. I'm playing a character who's playing a simulation who's playing another character? What's going on?
The guy
Oh dear
dressed up
God.
as a guy playing another guy. Okay, well that's cool. It's just odd to me. You both did like Ready Player One, but you just
Yeah.
are like, nah,
Loved it.
not
Loved
not
it.
gonna not gonna read it. Not even gonna try it. Not interested.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to level Black Mage or do you want me to read Ready Player 2?
no,
Because like
listen.
those are the decisions I have to make.
Here's the thing. I understand the priority thing, and I certainly get that. I'm in the same boat. I have a really long reading list. I've been trying to get through the book I'm on so I can start rereading Wheel of Time because I'm interested in rereading it since there's a Amazon series coming out about it. And like I've been meaning to do that for like 2 months, and like I've gotten like 2 chapters read since that time. Like you're right, it's hard. It's hard to find time. But that doesn't mean like if there's a book I want to read, I'd like put it on my list and say I'm definitely going to get to it eventually one day when I get back into reading or when I have more time for that versus like, nah, not interested. But listen, you guys do you. It's fine. I've already read it, so I don't have to, to answer the question. I will say that it was fine. It was very, if you liked the first one, you will find it to suffer from the thing many sequels suffer from, is that it's just not as good. Like the first one kind of had some magic that the second one doesn't quite recapture. There's a number of things that I don't like about the book. But there's a lot there's some more of the same, which is kind of cool. Like there's a nice pretty in-depth Lord of the Rings section where they go to a Lord of the Rings like planet or whatever that I
Nice.
really enjoyed because obviously I'm deep in Lord of the Rings. There was another section about that they spent a lot of time with Prince and like a Prince related planet, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not I'm not super like Prince is fine, but like I'm not a huge fan, so a lot of it I was kind of a little over my head. So it's kind of hit or miss on that, but it was a cool idea the way they, the way the second book is set up, and like I'm glad I read it, but it certainly didn't live up to the first one. So I don't feel like you're like really missing anything. I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, you guys are just." I can't believe you're not gonna read the second one. It was so good. It was fine, but it was a sequel. Take that for what it's worth. All right. Any other thoughts on the question of the day before we move on?
I mean, Lord of the Rings planet.
No.
You may have just sold me on it. We'll see.
That part was pretty cool. That part
Yeah,
was pretty good.
that's pretty
Like,
cool.
yeah.
Lord of the Rings
All right.
books or Lord of the Rings movies?
Lord of the Rings books.
Nice. All right.
It's actually I don't remember all of it. It's definitely Silmarillion related.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
oh, I
They've
lost you
lost me.
again. You're gone.
I never finished
All right,
Silmarillion.
to fully understand the references, then I will read Ready Player 2 after I read all of the Lord of the Rings books, even the Cerulean part that you talked about.
Really,
Would
Silmarillion.
Van
Oh,
understand
that's the
it
one.
using the Lord of the Rings references in the interview?
No, it's not. It's not a lot. Not a lot of Gollum or
Is there?
Boromir in there. No,
That's basically all Gollum. Oh, okay, I see.
that's
We're
what I'm
talking
saying.
about
Like,
the book.
it's
Yeah,
not.
in
It's
the
not the interview
the book.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, you should read the Lord of the Rings because you would do yourself a great service. That's
How
Yeah.
long would that take?
Oh,
not
I
as
don't even
long
want
as,
to.
but it
No,
take a
for
while. I
Van.
mean,
No, I think he means in
for Van,
his terms. Yeah, like how long would it take for him to read it?
forever. Probably. I don't know that you'd ever get through. The Silmarillion is pretty thick, and it's not
Well,
easy
don't.
reading.
No, no,
It's
no,
Like 300
no.
pages?
Silmarillion's not even. I wouldn't even recommend Van read the Silmarillion. Like he should
okay.
start with like either the
You
Hobbit or
start
Fellowship of the Ring.
start with the Hobbit. All right, the
Yeah.
Hobbit's good. It's lighthearted. It's fun. It's short.
Yeah.
It's about the same as Ready Player One.
Oh,
Like
that's not bad.
probably even shorter than Ready Player One. Maybe about the same. Like it goes fast.
Yeah.
It's a casual tale. It's good. It's a nice primer. Kind of introduces you to the characters that are in Lord of the Rings. It's directly related. It's a direct prequel. Um, that's a great place to start. If you like that, I don't know that you like the Lord of the Rings. A lot of people, like my wife, for example, she likes The Hobbit. She can't get into Lord of the Rings. Her dad
Hmm.
tried to pay her to read Lord of the Rings when she was a kid, and
Yeah.
like couldn't get it done. Like Lord of the Rings is just different. Lord of the Rings is very thick in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
but you have to want to read Lord of the Rings, I think, to really enjoy it. So I would not recommend it, other than I would recommend it because it's amazing. But
It is.
I don't know if it's right for you. All right, Final Fantasy time. If you have a question of the day, if you have comments on our question of the day, if you want Van to read everything Lord of the Rings, everything or nothing,
I don't know why anybody would want that ever.
I don't listen. I don't know why anybody would want anything. You don't know. People are strange. Let us know. Give us a shout. We'll have our contact information at the end of the day. If you want to see all of our reading lists in full, we can furnish them because I don't think Van's or Shai's are as long as mine, and I'm willing to do the hard work. So
I could tell you mine's not. As long
I
as
have a feeling. I was gonna say, I don't know. Is yours more than one? Is yours even one? Do you have anything
I
you
think
want
it's
to?
2.
Okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
it's 2.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. That's good. Keep it short. Keep it simple. All right.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11 report. What you been up to in Final Fantasy 11 since last we podcast? Van, I'm gonna start with you.
Recently took up a cloak that I said I would not take up.
What for the
But
for our fine listeners? What is a cloak?
yeah, good point. Okay, so the
Yeah.
cloak is a throwback term that we coined when one of the good friends of the podcast, Rido, had a was it
No,
Rido?
wrong.
Wasn't
No.
Rido.
No.
Okay, why don't you
Let's,
inform us on who it was?
Sorry. Yeah, fair enough. So our friend of the podcast, mutual friend James, uh, played
Ah, that's right. Good
he played a
joke.
character on Final Fantasy 11 called Lemon Cloak for a little bit, and then when he was done with his character, he quit and he like kept paying for his account for like a year because he forgot to cancel it. But then eventually, he offered it to our other mutual friend who we used to game with, Woe, as a secondary character. Like basically, he asked, "Hey, if you're not gonna use your character, do you mind if I use him as a secondary character? I'll take over the account." And he said yes. And so Lemon Cloak, which was James's character, like basically was following Woe around all the time. Like in Final Fantasy 11, you can put one character on follow. So when you have two characters that you're playing on once, it's convenient to put one on follow for the other one. And so it was like, oh, his little Lemon Cloak like trailing behind him, right?
Yeah.
And so later, as more of us just found the benefits of having cloaks, um, having a secondary character, we kind of made the cloak a theme of our secondary characters. So I made Bacon Cloak. Shai had Spaghetti Cloak. As what Van was thinking of as our mutual friend Rido had Guppy Cloak, who was a very active cloak. And some cloaks got more use than others, and so
Wapple Cloak. Like everybody was a food except for Rido. Like he was a guppy.
it was
Well,
a
yeah,
guppy.
Well, I
but
guess-
he think he tried to like argue that guppies are food. It was I don't know, disappointing.
Listen, Rido, if you listen to this, come on the podcast, defend your cloak. We'll have you as a guest. Talk about Guppy Cloak
So-
in the good old days. Anyway,
Yeah.
please now, proceed. Proceed, Van.
But yeah,
Sorry.
so as you mentioned, like we've said 1,000 times on this podcast that this game, Final Fantasy 11, is very social. It's you need additional players to help out. There's some things that are just easier with two persons. So if you can control both those persons or both those players in this instance, it's helpful. So I made a cloak like I thought I wouldn't, because it's basically like taking up another character for
It's a lot of work.
little. I mean, you're not doing 100% of the work that you do with your main character. That's why it's your main character, but you sure are doing a lot of work, because it takes a lot of work to get anything done in this game, right? So unlocking Kazam keys, doing missions that are required to unlock Kazam keys, just leveling in general, all that fun stuff. So it's like, it sounded daunting, and I'm like, I still have so much to do with my main character. Is now the right time to take up a cloak? And I decided, you know what? I think it is. And it was for the following reasons. I want to have a mage 75, and I was thinking I would just do red mage to 75 on my main character, but then I want to tailor merits, which are, so once you get your max level 75, you're able to merit your character, which is to use your experience points that you gain that no longer give you a level past 75, because that's the level cap, but it allows you to increase specific attributes of your characters or even unlock special abilities. So I want to merit those towards a range, attack, and all that fun stuff, agility and marksmanship and all that. And then if I ever wanted like a pimped out red mage, that would kind of gimp that character in that way. So I'm like, you know what, screw it. Let me just go with the cloak. I'll do my mage. I'll have the best of both worlds. I'll have a cloak. I'll have a mage. It'll be on a second character. It can double as a power leveler. And for those listening, I think we've used the term power level before. If not, it's just somebody who's there who's able to assist you or a party with additional healing, since healing tends to be a blocker during XP for sometimes at lower levels, and sometimes at higher levels, but mostly used at lower levels. So anyways, I decided to take this up, and I forgot how grueling those lower levels were without a sub job on a mage. It was bad, dude. It was so brutal. So anyway, I did it. We're level 10. Smiley and I are looking forward to now power leveling our power levelers, ironically, with our main characters up until we get them strong enough to return the favor. So when they get older. So I've been doing that mostly. And then secondarily, been leveling my red mage at this point. Since I did make the decision to have a cloak, I'm only taking him. It's an easy decision now. I'm going to take him either to 18 or 37. I don't need him to go all the way to 75 anymore. So I don't regret leveling one to 21, but it's not a priority anymore. And I think my main character's priority has now shifted to a very short term 37 to 40. And then I'm going to get back to meriting my core. So you can all be happy at the fact that I will bring my core to every single one of your parties going forward.
It does make me happy. Yeah, I mean, your core hit 75, I think, since our last podcast, so that's a pretty big achievement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Unlocked Snake Eye and also unlocked Fold. So two of the
Nice.
best core abilities. Yeah. That I don't get to use because you people won't level with me at 75.
Almost.
I guess mostly because Shai and I just don't have the same time.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
The one
Shai's
time we
not-
play together during the week is we're doing missions right now, so there's no time to do EXP.
All right, Shai, what about you? What have you been up to?
Yeah.
Sorry, Van, you have anything?
No, that was it.
Yeah, so I have started leveling Bard. So my Bard is level 52 now. So I'm right about at the edge of bird parties. Um, yeah, I forgot how much I enjoy playing Bard. Um, and sleep staging and pulling on Bard is a lot of fun. So we'll see. We'll see. I could see Bard being my main once it gets to 75. And it probably
What
will
was
be.
what was your bard on previously? Did you have a 75 bard?
Spaghetti
Or
had a
did you
75
even have
Bard.
99 and
Yeah,
Spaghetti
Spaghetti had a
Cloak.
99 Bard all decked out. Like Spaghetti's Bard was pretty. That was what I mainly played Spaghetti on. Um, so
gotcha.
yeah,
And you also have gotten 75 since I think our last pod.
yeah. I don't know. I don't remember. I
Our
don't
last,
remember if I was
our last
75 or
episode,
not. Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think any of us were yet. Maybe you were. If anybody was, it was you because you were the first one there. But
Yeah.
yeah. How about you,
all right,
Smiley?
well, I haven't had a lot of time with the baby. I've been trying to eke out a little bit here and there. Um, it's the hardest part. Like a lot of times, especially in the late nights, Sam is very sleepy. Um, and so I can if I'm not doing anything too taxing, a lot of times I can get away with getting a little bit of playtime in. But like it's been hard to level my thief, so that's why my thief is not 75 yet. I'm still 71. I've made a little progress here and there, but it's just hard as a thief. You're usually expected to pull. I want to pull on thief. It's something I enjoy, like as you mentioned about playing bard. I think one of the things you enjoy about it is pulling, and I do as well. I think setting the pace of the party is a valuable thing to do. It makes the party better a lot of times. And it's hard for me to do that because it's such a full time job. And if something happens where Sam starts to fuss or needs something, it's hard. And it's just hard to commit to a party in general. Like if he wakes up or whatever, then it's like I a lot of times I take a break or I have to go, and then I inconvenience the five other people in the party. So I've been doing more, and I kind of knew this coming in. That's why I played pretty hard. I tried to get as well set up as I could before the baby came, so that I'd have time now, knowing that I wouldn't be able to do the full gamut of stuff. So I've been, working more on outside activities, solo activities, low level jobs. I did start working on my cloak. Bacon Cloak has been resurrected here on this server. Um, I think, I've been kind of holding off waiting for Van to catch up to because we're going to try and do some duoing, which I think will go well. I'm excited for that. I'm also been leveling Dragoon a little bit, and I'm going to need a Samurai sub. So I just finished unlocking
Hmm.
Samurai, and I'm planning to kind of duo um, my main character and my cloak as white mage and samurai. I think will be a good tandem to get through. As Van mentioned, those first 10 levels are really hard, and I think probably on white mage is one of the hardest because it's just a miserable grind. And so even with the reduced MP or EXP of being in a party, I think having my white mage tag along with my samurai will be a mutually beneficial because Sam, especially with archery, will should tear it up. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. I just been farming a little bit. Like I've done a lot of quests, been doing a lot of that boring stuff that Van mentioned for Bacon Cloak. It's been a good time, like where I have to run around and talk to people and do little things, get outposts, things like that. Stuff that's easily done in small bits and without too much pressure, where I can easily just stop where I'm at if something comes up. Um, and of course, I've been really enjoying going through COP with the two of you guys and
Hmm.
and some of our other friends on the weekends. My wife Sarah has been gracious enough to, give me a couple hours of time where she'll watch the baby and just lets me come down here and focus on some of the harder content. And it feels like we're making some good progress on that. Even though we've hit a couple speed bumps here and there, I think it's going well, and it's been fun doing those more challenging quests and fights. I think.
Yeah, you had a pretty lucky day. What, a couple weeks ago, where you had gotten some NM drop, a couple NM
Oh
drops
yeah,
on the same day.
yeah, I did. I had been thinking about it for a while. They made some changes to the way NMs drop their loot, which I think many of us are pretty dissatisfied with. But it is what it is, and so a lot of the main NMs that used to drop money items now drop rare X versions of those items, and so um, there's still a reason to camp them at least once because if you get the rare X version, you can sell off. If you had the money version, it's still able to be sold. So, one of the items was the leaping boots from Leaping Lizzie that I camped extensively before it turned into rare X, and I never got it. So, I basically got hosed out of the ability to sell that back for a decent profit. But I went out there and I I camped him for a little bit, and I was able to get the drop finally. And then that same day, like literally an hour later, I went to the Valkyrie Emperor, and I was able to get the hairpin from him, which was nice because I was able to sell that back for like 300K. So made a little money, which was
Did
nice. Yeah, but yeah, back to back drops on those. That's pretty crazy.
In doing so, did you confirm? I think we had this question, or maybe it was just me. But
Mm.
if you have the Emperor hairpin, the Empress hairpin can drop while
Yes,
you have the Emperor equipped
you,
still in
you
your
can
inventory.
you can have them both in your inventory at the same time. Yes,
Cool,
they're not
got it,
mutually exclusive the way two copies of the hairpin would be of the
got
same
it.
hair. Yes.
It's good to know.
Yeah, because I had them both on. Like literally replaced one with the other. Um,
I've been doing some self reflection on the rare exclusive NM change, and I'm a
yeah,
little bit more at ease with it. Only in that, so what it took away from us was the ability to hunt NMs for profit, specifically just those NMs, right? There's still
some of
other
them
NMs that are
for sure
available, but
are. Yeah,
those NMs specifically for profit. And um, I was thinking like that sucks that they did that. That is NM hunting is something that I absolutely love doing in this game.
yeah.
And then I started thinking on myself, and I was like, but you've been playing since June, right? So July, August, September, October. Did they do it early October is when they made the change? I think it was.
Sometime in there. Yeah, somewhere
Something
in
like that.
October.
Right. So it's been 4 months, and you haven't hunted either of those NMs once for profit. So like, has it really affected your gameplay? And I think I've come to the conclusion that no, I think in the long run, it probably hasn't affected my gameplay as much as I thought it would be. Like I think I don't like it on principle, but as far as actual practice and application, I don't think it's changed much of how I would or would have played. So I'm a little bit more at ease with it. I still don't like it, but I'm more okay with it.
I wish I could say the same because I didn't hunt them much for profit because I was still trying to hunt them to use. Like I was still
Right.
trying to get the leaping boots, but I did spend a lot of time out there camping. I mean, I killed it like 40 times.
Oh, I know. I was out there with you like
Yeah,
7 times of those 40 times.
I mean, like I did spend a lot of time, and it's just one of those things where like it was a great it was a great thing to be able to do very passively, like when I was working on something
Yeah, that
else.
is true.
Like it's like being able to like I've said from the beginning, like especially having done it and gotten such bad drop rates, I don't think it's more. I think if you wanted to get the best, most efficient gil per hour, you're better off farming bird blood or farming bats or find something repeatable that just drops. Like there's better ways to make money, but those are a lot more active. You have to be paying attention a lot more of those times. Like for me, I'd go out there, I'd kill a placeholder every 5 minutes and like that takes like a couple seconds and then I could be doing something else. And so like it was a great way to have a chance at some money when I maybe didn't have like a full opportunity to play the game. And like I
Or
just
we
hate
can
when
still do that, just not with Leaping Lizzie
right.
and
Well,
Valgrim Emperor.
no, but like
You can still do
what
that passive placeholder farming, right? But
I mean,
yeah,
you can try to find something, but again, yeah, I mean, I guess you can. Yeah, I mean, you go for like Monster Signa, I guess, or
right.
something that's sells for 150K, and like you're right, but it's just like why I
Yeah.
don't see the yeah we could go on forever about that. I'm still dissatisfied, and I'm dissatisfied both personally affected and also in principle, as you mentioned, because I just don't like the whole point of this server. I feel like is to give us an experience of what it was like back then, and I don't understand why they felt like they had to take that away. Uh,
Archaically, yeah, changes. And again, it like the logic is what bothers me is that they did it, they said, "Oh, this is our most popular request." And I'm like, "Sure." Like, but that doesn't make it right.
right,
And on the surface that may sound kind of funny, but it is. Like, okay, cool. What if we put a poll out there that said, "Hey, should you give everybody a one-time bonus of 1 million gil?" Like you're going to have that's going to be the most popular voted thing on ever. Doesn't make it the right thing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like there's a difference
agree.
between what's popular and what's right. And yeah.
Yes, well, and also
And I'm not
too,
the arbiter of what's right, but the point was just there to illustrate, like,
what's sad about it to me is the biggest thing is it was so completely unnecessary. Like there wasn't really any botting. Like in my opinion,
yeah,
it was like
it wasn't hard to claim.
it technically wasn't really an era experience because in era those things were completely botted out. Like you didn't really have a legitimate chance. Like I could never really hunt those NMs in retail because there were there were guild sellers on it all the time. And so like this was actually like a bit like this is what retail was supposed to be. Like it was like an idealized version, and like still people complained about it because like they didn't. I don't know. Again, I don't want to go off the rails on this. I could literally vent about this for the next 30 minutes, and that would be all the podcast is about. And Shy looks bored up there, so um,
Yeah, I don't have strong feelings about this at all. I did want to throw in a recent happening in
yeah.
FFXI just in this past week that I was pretty excited about, and that
What's
has to
that?
do with Conquest. And so when we started playing, Smiley and I started as Sandorians. Van started as a Bast. Well, all right. Well, Van started as Sandorian apparently, and then switched to Bastock. Yeah, or whatever.
True.
And so apparently we missed some wave in 11 on the server of the Sandorians just rocking Conquest. And so for those who aren't familiar with 11, basically there's different zones on the world map that as you fight in them with a certain status effect, you get Conquest points and you basically take over a zone and you can get the outpost and teleport to it. It can make things a lot more convenient. But after we started playing, all of a sudden, the nation Smiley and I joined Sandoria stopped getting all these high-level zones and Conquest, and all of a sudden the nation that Vanna joined, in Bastock, it seemed like people were coordinating in their nation to like take all this stuff, because in a smaller server like this it really requires coordination. It seems like it doesn't just happen natively. And so Smile and I've just been like bemoaning the fact for several months now that like some of these high level zones we can't quickly get out to them, which I mean that's kind of the 11 experience anyway, but it is hard when like the other half of our group can just get out to this zone, be ready to do something, and Smiley and I need to spend 10 minutes running out to this zone or longer. So this past weekend, we were both part of an EXP party on and off that went, I think, about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours. I was in it the whole time in one of these zones, and we were able to tip it. We were able to tip it to Sandoria, and it's a zone that we haven't had in 6 months. So it's awesome to have that, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come. But yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, we joined a link show. We joined another group of people, like-minded people who want to try to take over some of these zones, because it definitely seems like basically they kind of went through basically right before we joined and kind of got all the zones they wanted, and then most people had them, so it's not a priority anymore. Once you get the zones once, you only have to do the quest once to be able to
Yep.
outpost out there. So once you have it, like you don't really need to worry about it anymore. Um, and it's super frustrating for me. Shai joined about a week after Van, Z, and I did. And the first week I played, we had this zone. We had Bucidine Glacier with Sandorian, and Sandoria had a bunch of stuff. And we had in our very first party we were in, Z, Van, and I were with one of our other Link Shell mates, Darkara, and he was kind of giving us a rundown on the server and giving us some tips. He's like, "Oh yeah, Sandoria owns this server. They're always in first and this and that." And so I wasn't really worried about it. Like I was like, "Oh, I'm sure I'll get it again." I made it a point as a very low level character to run out to some of these to get some of these outposts that were useful. And the one I didn't get to was Bucidine, because it's a little bit harder to get to when you're low level and you don't have high level help, and you don't have a lot of disposable income to spend on silent oils and sneak powders and whatnot. Um, reverse that, but you know, I just was like, oh, I'm sure we'll get Bucidine again. I'm not gonna beggar myself to try to get out there as a level 10 character, level 12 character into this high level zone. And then we have not had it since then. Like since that first week, it has not been under our control. And it's like every week I'm kicking myself. Like, why didn't I just like bite the bullet and get out there and get that freaking outpost? But so finally Shy and I now we'll have it as of this week, which is really nice, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of the other ones we're missing too.
Yeah.
So that's the pro Sandorian segment of this podcast. Sorry, Van.
To get like
Gross.
Sandorian t-shirts made and like get Sandorian
I would.
caps.
I'd
Oh
wear
my
that.
gosh.
Love that Sandorian red. All right. Well, let's talk about the future. So that's where we're kind of all out. Like, what's what's keeping you guys going? I mean, maybe this is kind of tying in with two questions at once, but like, what are you looking forward to? What's keeping you playing? What's on the horizon for your character? Let's go snake style. I'll go with myself first, and because mine's really easy. It's just being able to get some more play time. Like I really would love to get my thief to 75, and start gearing that out. I'm having fun with dragoon. I'd like to continue to level that a little bit higher. Get my cloak up to a usable level where it can assist me in certain things. But really, I mean, long term, I still am looking forward to joining some end game shell, and doing some end game activity. But I just don't see that happening in the foreseeable future with having a young child, and just not having the time to commit to something like that. Um, but I'd love to be able to at least get to 75, and be able to start working on some of the end game gear sets, and things that I can do on Thief. So, and of course to continue COP, and try to get through that with you guys. Like I said, that's been really one of the highlights of my week. It's like one of the few times I actually have like a an outside family activity. Like everything's been rolled up with Sarah and Sam, and that's been great. Like it's a wonderful time to have a little baby. Like he's such a good baby, and like I've really enjoyed the time I'm spending with him. But it's cool to do something a little different. Like it's like the one time of the week I have something a little different, and so I really look forward to seeing you guys, and doing COP with y'all, despite maybe some of our recent struggles. Um, but yeah, what about let's snake it back. Van, what about you? What's keeping you going? Did I do that wrong? Was Van first? Should be Shy.
No, no, I
Shy.
think it went me.
Was it?
Really? I thought it went me,
Yeah.
Van, you.
No,
Is that all right?
no. According to the outline, I did Van, then Shy, then me. So Shy, you'd be next. Yeah, Shy. We started
That's
with
right.
Van.
Yeah,
We
because
started with
you
Van
started with me.
All
with
right.
the cloak discussion.
All right. Yeah, not to be. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm looking forward to or what's keeping me playing FFXI. Not to be a Debbie Downer here, a Danielle Downer. I think the COP is the easy answer. I think, and I think that is really what keeps me playing. And I think that's like I think the one slot a week. I'm looking forward to doing that into the foreseeable future. Whether that's getting through COP, and then if we decide we wanted to go through the ZMs next, and we want to like, I'm down. And I think that's the benefit of having a 75 job already. Is like I feel like I already have something that I could bring, and if I get barred up, then that's another job. As far as like outside of that, I don't know. I've definitely been getting that sense of like the deja vu sense of like I feel like I'm doing stuff that I've already done, and in a private I don't know. Like there's been some I haven't been playing as much. And I think also just like the guild grind has been killing me. Like I don't it
So
I was really actively grinding Gilder for a while, and I think now it's like, man, I don't know that I want to log in an hour or two a day just to get like 80k, 60 to 80k gil. And like I think part of it's like on my Sam, like there's some pieces that I would need, that are like 500k a mil. I think for a Bard, same thing. So it's like you think of that's like 10 to 15 hours of grinding gil to like get one of these things, and it's like, do I want to like sink that much time for an item? Like how seriously do I want to take, do I want to join in game link shell? So I'd say right now it's kind of just like getting barred up and then like doing the weekly stuff with you guys. That's what I've been looking forward to.
Van.
As far as leveling goes, the new Cloaks was nice and refreshing. You know me, I
Yeah.
like starting things new.
Yes, you
So
do.
like as soon as this cloak thing came up, I was like, oh wait, I get to start something new again? Let's do it. So there's that. And then yeah, I guess not as diehard in meriting my core just yet, just because again, we're not using it very much at 75. So yeah, as far as leveling goes, not much. I hope they institute Nigel Isle at some point. And then of course a way for me to get coffin makers would be helpful, which is one of my core weapons. That's not in the game yet because some of the BCNMs aren't in the game yet from that TOAU era, or KSNMs, I guess it would be.
Yeah, I think
Is
that
it
comes from
BCNM?
I think
Yeah,
that one comes from a
It's
KS now.
case yeah, the Royal
yeah,
Ramble.
yeah,
Oh.
KSNM. So hopefully they put some stuff in. Nigel Eye will be great. But yeah, that's doing good. I have found a new love for alchemy, oddly enough. So I've started to level that. But as you mentioned, Shai, the grind is so bad, especially like higher level crafting is just so expensive, and your return is like it's not bad on return because there aren't a lot of people doing it. It's just slow. Like some of the things that you're and some of the things that you have to craft in order to level are like either just pure NPC at a loss or put them on the auction house, but the last one sold 2 weeks ago. So good luck.
Yeah, it's like you're
But
basically paying for skill ups at that point, right?
that's all you're
That's what
doing is buying skill ups. Yeah,
yeah.
with crafting. So it costs a lot of gil to do. But once you get up there, it's pretty awesome being able to craft some really nice usable things, and get a reliable HQ on it, whether it be 2 or 3 or 4 even. It's pretty cool when that happens because your return goes from basically break even to like, oh cool, I just made 8K on one craft. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it kind of got me going, and the more I started thinking about
Are
it, I was like, you know what, let's do
are
it,
you are
especially
you
because of how difficult it is.
are you thinking about doing guild points
I
for
am, and I
alchemy?
just started doing that, and I did not realize how hard that is.
Yeah, it's
And
kind
and
of
it's
tough.
something I should have been doing as soon as I could because the item is based off of your current level within the
Oh,
guild.
is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So
Interesting. That makes
because
sense, I guess.
or it's based off of your so like
Your
the
rank, right?
yeah, your rank within the guild, right? So
Yeah.
from journeyman to artisan and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang it, I should have been doing this from day one. But I didn't know I was gonna take, or I didn't expect to take alchemy all the way. But so now it's like, cool, here's your item. You need to craft, this level 40 weapon. And I'm like, great. If they were level 1 weapons, I'd be able to craft 8 of them and get my 3000 XP for the day. But with this one, it's going to cost me 15K and I get to craft one of them probably. So, but what has been interesting though is on some of those required guild required items, I have HQ'd. So I was crafting them originally just for the to turn in, and then I would HQ them, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this up for the auction house for like 10K, so
Nice.
Yeah.
10K more. So let's do that instead. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start really focusing on alchemy, getting it all the way up, and see if there's a way to make money reliably there. If I could bring in like 30K a day, like Shai was saying, um, I was thinking about that. I was like, cool, I just crafted 30K worth of stuff after the cost of a recipe, and that took about 15 minutes, not the hour that it would have taken me for me to mine. If this stuff sells daily, well, there I found an easy way to make 30K a day in 15 minutes by crafting. So
Yep.
with that mindset, I'm thinking the higher I get from 60 to 100, I'm going to HQ more. Hopefully, it'll be more profitable. And here we are, crafting on a private server.
Yeah, man, I think there's definitely, as you said, like there's less people doing it, and like a lot of people do craft, but like you don't know too when people. I think we've seen that with some things on the auction house, where like there's just like times when like stuff isn't available, and it's
Yep.
probably because like there's maybe one or two real high level crafters, like maybe they're not crafting this week, maybe they're taking a break, maybe they're doing other stuff. Like,
Look what happened when Dakara left for 5 days.
Yeah.
Freaking
oh
the
my
whole
god,
food on the
oh my
server like
god,
just
yeah.
skyrocketed.
So like, yeah, I mean, not only having the ability to not have to rely on other people for certain things is nice, but like, you probably do have, you know, a lot of opportunities. Like, especially, I think alchemy is really a great one. Alchemy and cooking, because these are items that people need. Like if you're doing a mission or something, like you need certain consumables, and like you got to pay for it. And like people are constantly doing that kind of stuff. You need prison powders and silent oils, and like yeah, there's a lot of competition, but you never know when some of your competition's going to get tired and take a break or quit or move along, and
Yeah.
you can be there to fill that niche and make some probably pretty easy money.
Well, when we first started, I remember Silent O's and Prison Powers were running like 10 to 12K a stack.
Hmm.
And
A lot
now they're
lower
like
than
down to 4 to 5K.
that. Hmm.
So I was like, crap, there's a lot of people making those. Those are somewhat low level crafts, so they're like 20 to 30. So it's not super surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. The power really comes in being able to HQ. That's where your profit comes from.
Yep.
And what I like about alchemy is all the guides that I read say, "Oh, there's no point in taking alchemy past 60." Like, and they're like, "Okay, you're going to take it past 60, fine. Like, it's not going to be very exciting or profitable, but go ahead and do it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, they're discouraging a lot of people to do it, so that at least maybe makes the market a little bit less
Yeah.
appetizing for most people, and I'll take it
Yeah.
all the way and see what I can do with it." Or
Well,
maybe they're right because it's the first one I've ever done. Maybe if I was doing goldsmithing or blacksmithing, I'd be making 600K a day instead of just my 30K a day that I'm happy with. Who knows?
man, I think you should look at it. What are they hiding? It seems like a pretty
Right.
obvious wall they're putting up to the other
Mhm.
user. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't bother with that lamp. It's junk. You don't don't
Right.
don't don't rub on that thing. It's just
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll take it off
Exactly.
your hands. It's
Yeah.
garbage. Yeah. All right. What other thoughts you guys got? Anything else you want to touch on today?
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. I think one thing about Bard, and we haven't been able to take advantage of this, but I am looking forward to doing stuff with you guys, like with Vance, Corsair.
Hardcore.
We haven't been able to do a lot of like group EXP parties. In fact, the other day we kind of did our first one, and you weren't even on core, right, Van? Because you're working on your Red Mage. So like we haven't really had the opportunity to do like a really good party, and I think we've got the makings of like some fun merit parties or some high level parties once we can find the time. I mean, we've got. Can you imagine like having like Aureus and Z on both on Puppet Master, Smiley on Thief, and like Core Bard. I mean, like that would. I'm sure we would just be tearing crap up. I mean,
Healing
it would be.
I guess we need a healer. Healer for the sixth.
Who needs a healer for that?
No, we don't. Do we? I guess we would.
The pups will be
You
tanking,
can heal.
right? Yeah.
I could come
On Thief? What? No.
on Thief.
No, wait. We only have 5 still.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah,
what I said.
5. We could fill a healer.
Assuming the pup is tanking. I guess. Yeah, that'll be fun. Bard and Core, and not just any Bard and Core, but like 2 really high quality, high class Bard and Core. Like that has the makings of a very powerful party.
I only see one of those here. I don't know where the Bard
I
is.
was gonna say. I'm glad you're talking about Shai, but I don't know what I would do in that party.
Oh no, I've partied with both Bard and Core on Fermichiu, and I'd say you guys do a pretty good job. So.
And you party with other bards and Core.
I've partied with other Bards and other Cores, and yeah, exactly. Well, here's a interesting thought exercise for you. Can you tell me, like, since, like, maybe I don't know, since you've been back, or in the maybe recently in the last couple weeks, couple months, what's like something you've enjoyed about playing the game? And I know, Van, you kind of went into alchemy, kind of the thrill of discovering alchemy. But like, has there been anything else like that? Has there been any times like when you've been like, oh man, like this is why I'm still playing this game. This is why I love this game, or like this is what I came back for, right? Like, I'll start, since I just sprung this question on you to give you guys an opportunity to think of an answer. But like for me, like I was in a party a couple weeks ago. I was able to get a party in the evening one night when my son was very sleepy, and he was just like crashed out on me. And I got invited to a party in Sanctuary of Zatad, my thief. Nobody else was really on. And I was kind of like, man, do I want, like, I usually don't like to party on Thief when I have Sam, and like it's probably a bad idea, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. He just had like a big dinner. He's really sleepy. I think he's gonna be cool. Like, I'll go to it, and if it works, cool. And if he wakes up and I have to go, then I'll just I'll be like, oh, sorry guys, like just didn't work out. But so I go, and like the party was cranking. We did have a core, and he was a good core. I forget his name, but he was the leader, and he did a great job. And the rest of the party was just really solid. And I was pulling on Thief, and I was just like, we were just tearing it up. We had 2 dragoons and the core, and myself on Thief, and like a healer, and we had a warrior that was tanking. And like we were just wrecking stuff there. Like we were doing like 18 to 20k an hour consistently with no band. And I was pulling, we were doing like high chains, and like I remember just thinking as we were going, like, this is what I love about Final Fantasy 11. This perfection that you can try to attain, like the exp efficiency, where like you're doing better than most people would in this situation, because the party is well built. Everybody's doing their job. People aren't goofing around. Like we've got a good flow of mobs, and like it was a great party, and it was really just kind of thrilling. And it was just like, man, this is what I miss about class. This is why I'm on this server, because this is the kind of party that doesn't exist on retail Final Fantasy 11, like an old school, just like grinding EXP on mobs the way you do on this server. And I got a really great compliment. Like after, at the end of the party, I told the core, like my son finally started to wake up after a couple hours. I was like, hey man, I probably got to go. And he's like, that's fine. But he's like, thanks for pulling, man. Like, you're the best non-bard puller I've ever been with. And I was like,
Damn.
oh, I was like, thank you. Like that means a lot. I appreciate
Yep.
that. So
He's like, I just started, but
he's like, well, I mean, I just started playing yesterday, but you're the only person I've actually partied with.
I hear the bards pull. I mean, what's a bard?
I only party with bard pullers, so one of one. But like, hey,
Um,
But no, it was a nice compliment. And I was like, man,
yeah,
like that
no.
that feels good. Like but I knew I was doing a good job. Like you just
Yeah,
felt it. Like
yeah,
it was
Yeah.
like this party is cranking. Like
yeah,
I had all the mobs mapped out, and it just felt good. And I was like that. It was just very validating. It's like this is why I enjoy this game. This is why I'm on this server. And I was just, I guess maybe now that you've heard that, you have a better idea what I'm asking. Like, have you guys had any experiences like that since you've come back? If again, it sounds like maybe Van found a little something with alchemy there, like that thrill of crafting, that thrill of HQing. I totally get that. What about you, Shy? And then we'll
yeah.
get back and see if it has anything else.
I had a recent experience, and maybe it's what's kind of solidified my bard, my falling in love with bard again, because I got invited to a party the other day, um, in Eastern Altepa at 39 on the gobs there, and just like I forget, I think I invited by a pup, and I was like, okay, this will be interesting. And then like we show up, and there was like a pup, a blue, a couple of PLs, a red mage, and a Galka paladin, and a monk. And it was like, okay, this will be interesting to see how it goes. Like I've been doing a lot of low level partying. Like that's been, I think, a lot of us probably deal with level sync a lot, right? And so on Bard, I think I'd gotten to basically like mid to upper 30s by doing. I don't think I'd partied lower than higher than Utunga. So like which is 25, or like ends at like 27 ish. So that ended up being a great party, kind of like what you're saying. And like I think once again, like from a pulling perspective, there's a lot of satisfaction when you can like.
Yeah.
So I think like we ended up going from like 39 to like 45. So we basically shifted to Western Altepa on the Beatles. And I don't think we ever really did, like it was a little bit slower at the beginning, just figuring it out. But we eventually were just doing like chain 13 pretty much consistently through the gobs, and then on the Beatles, which honestly those Beatles are a pain in the ass. And so like I was really happy with how we transitioned. And they were just kicking butt. The Galka Paladin was just like a boss. Like he was just evoking fast. The Red Mage was doing awesome. The Red Mage, it was funny because like I was sleep staging on the gobs, and I noticed pretty early on, like someone's like, please use Dia on the mobs. So I would bring the gob in after someone told him that, and I would sleep it, and all of a sudden it would start attacking me. I'm like, what's going on? I noticed he would Dia it before they'd engaged it. And so I eventually had to tell the Red Mage, I'm like, could you please not Dia it until it's been evoked? And he was cool. He adjusted. But yeah, it was funny because by the end, I got a similar compliment, kind of like you did, where like we ended and the guy was
You're the
like,
best non-thief puller I've ever been with.
yeah, no, he was like, he said something like, you were a beast puller and like better than a lot of the bard pullers I've seen in like merit parties. And so like, I don't know, like if he's ever merited, like that could be a very similar, comment like, you got, but, it was very satisfying. And I think part of it is not even just like, I think what you were alluding to, it's not even just like, you doing your optimal performance, because I think most of us in any party we're in are trying to do that, but like it can be very tiring when you're partying with people that are half-assing stuff. So when you're in a party and you know that everybody else in that party cares and they're like kicking butt, like it's like, man, we all care. And this is like, yeah, so exactly what you were saying about like kind of min-maxing EXP. And I think that just encapsulates, if there's any reason I'm still playing 11, it's because of the leveling experience. And I'm sure we'll talk about it in the future, but there's a new MMO I'm excited about coming out, and it's just like, it's a traditional MMO, like modern MMO though. So like, it's like one of those games where like you rush to max level and like, then the game opens up. That's just like every MMO nowadays. And like, I think 11 is just cool to see that whole, like, it takes time. It takes months to get to max level, and like the whole journey is an experience in and of itself. You don't do it in 2 days. So
Yeah, I think we always talk a lot about how like one of the downfalls of 11, one of the frustrating points of 11 is that like generally you need at least 6 people to do anything, whether you're EXPing or doing missions or whatever. You're reliant on a number of other people. And even one bad egg can really bring a party down and really feel like it's wasting your time. And that sucks. But when you do get that party with 6 good players, and that's why for so long we always play together. That's why we only want to party together. That's why Van and I, who are a little bit more late night, lament that we miss having Shy for a lot of these parties, because like we've already got a good core when it's with Van and Z and Orius and I, and it's like we need Shy in here. We need a 6. We need Ray to come join us or Rhino to come join us,
God,
so we have
like
6.
Ray or Rido or any of our core players
Yeah,
before, like it would just be, it would be a different level. Like it would just be a whole different level
because
having
when
one
you
of them as a
have
six.
that full group of great players, like, and like you said, everybody cares and everybody's doing their thing. It's just a different experience. It's like the highs and lows. The highs and lows of Final Fantasy 11. So much of it is based on who are those 6 people in the party, and like
And
what
it's
level are
interesting
they
how like each of the roles have, and it goes beyond just, tank healer, damage dealer, because you also have polar, which is like a
Yep.
key role.
And
And
support.
and it's crazy how something as simple as like the tank not voking right away and then
Yes.
instead waiting 1 second longer, like can make a big difference on the
It's a,
healers and
yes,
the
it's a
dynamic of the
domino effect.
party. And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, and so having everybody just with that surgical precision, just yeah, when everything's flowing, it's like just a beautiful
It's
orchestra.
a
It's
thing of
awesome.
Yeah.
beauty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a team sport,
I'll take it.
basically. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great
And I'll take it to say
analogy.
the only thing that I wanted to that you were talking about, like, yeah, the epiphany of, hey, this thing in
Yes.
alchemy might actually work, and getting excited was so what I remember reliving being awesome is the thrill of seeing your NM pop up on wide scan and your heart just start racing and knowing exactly that now it's on, right? The timer started, the starting guns popped. You need to get to that NM and claim it before anybody else so that you can get this going. And it has nothing to do with whether it's going to drop or not. Like it's more thrilling to claim than it is to actually fight the NM. And then of course you have that secondary thrill of fighting and then waiting for the drop to pop, and then you're just staring at your little log down there wondering if you got the item or not. But I would say that coming back was super exciting. And ironically, that's contradictory to me being okay with the changes that they've made, because that took away a couple of my favorite
They
NMs to
took
hunt.
away, they took away a lot of that for no good
Yeah.
reason, which is sad. But again, we could do a whole podcast on that, but nobody needs to hear me rail about that. All right.
Maybe
Any
you
other?
and I should
Oh,
do like a therapy podcast on that.
that'd be a good
Or you and I
out of
do an
focus.
out of podcast.
Do it
Yeah,
out of focus and just
I
like
think so.
go through all the real deep reasons why I think
I
it was.
like it. Yeah, dude, we could do that.
We could do
And
that. That would be fun.
Well, it'd be interesting. You could do an overarching Notorious Monster conversation and talk about like even the comparisons of like Notorious Monsters to like gotcha game systems and stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
You could
there's
do
a lot of meat there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of meat there for sure.
BC and M drops versus NM drops. Yeah, no, there's a lot there.
That was the one thing, like the one good thing that came out of that is I do like that they added those
Mhm.
drops to the BCNM pools. I just don't think they need to be mutually exclusive. Like add them to the
I
BCNMs, give
agree.
people an additional way to get them, so there's less complaints about no, well, I can't out camp these people. Okay, go do the BCNM. Like you don't need to change the drops from the NMs either, though. Like just leave them as one drop. But
So there was another poll I remember reading. I don't know if you guys saw
oh yeah,
this,
no,
but it said keep the BC and M's but revert the NMs back to basically what you just said.
yeah.
Okay, here. So it says put the rare rare non EX items back on the Notorious Monsters list, but also keep them in the BSC and M's. It was rated yes 13, no 101.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. See, that's interesting because I had seen
I
those
mean, that's
types
just
of
people
polls.
being
Yeah.
yeah.
It is, and sometimes I think there's an argument for just not changing. It's like stop rubber banding and going back. Like
Mhm.
whether you agree with it or not, some people are gonna say this is what you decided. Okay, we're gonna stick with it and go
Yeah.
forward.
So this is a super exciting poll though. Somebody's asking about reverting range attack damage back to its regular one, and it's plus 42, negative 37. So they're
Wow,
talking about
Oh,
saying
to
how
take the bonus. You mean to take the bonus off, or are you talking
to
about
take it back to retail damage and take the bonus off. And
see,
they're like it's forcing jobs to be played in ways that they weren't originally played
Yeah.
for, and
Yep.
minimizing other jobs, and it's actually more popular 42 to 37, albeit
well,
a small margin.
that's the kind of like I saw a number of polls like previously where you said the most requested feature or whatever. I saw a lot of polls in the history of that were do you implement the RMT changes on NMs? And that's always what I saw was kind of that like 40 to 35 yes to no, like not overwhelming, but kind of split. And so that's why I was surprised when they cited that as a reason for making the change is like and obviously I don't see all the data. They obviously have get the full feedback.
Yeah.
But like from what I've seen, it's felt like it was more a divided issue, not everybody's clamoring for this. But
Yeah. I think all of us are players, and the people who run this private server are previous players, right? And I think if there's one thing we can all agree on that hurts the game the most is lack of transparency from devs when it comes to patches and updates and whatnot. So something they could have done that would have maybe quelled all of this is if they had more extensively laid out and explained why they did it. And then either if it wasn't a good reason, we could have been legitimately upset, or maybe they could have shown all these poll results and all these RMT data or whatever, like, that they're going off of. Like right now, I think the problem is it feels like they maybe had subliminal motives or so, something they're not really like one of them wanted to, I mean, I don't know if that's exactly, some of the frustration, but that they're not being upfront about it.
The things they cited, I don't see the evidence. Like,
Yeah.
there was no RMT. I've never gotten an RMT tell on this server. Like I've never seen a bot. I've never been outclaimed by a bot. And I spent a lot of time at Leaping Lizzie and Valkyrie Emperor. Like, it just didn't happen. Like, there's nobody there. Like, they're combating a problem that didn't exist. And like, again, like maybe they see something we don't, but what they said didn't line up with my experience in the game, which is unfortunate. But ultimately, maybe you're getting at this a little bit. They are the devs. Like, it's their private server. Like, the people who run it, like, they have the right to do whatever they want. It's disappointing as somebody who's engaged with it that they would make that choice. I don't agree with it, but like, I'll never say they don't have the right to do it. Like, they're the ones who put in all the work to provide this server, and so they ultimately have the final say, and they can do whatever they want.
We're not even paying them, right? So it's not like
it's not like we're paying for this server. Like, they're running this out of the goodness of their hearts. Like, I don't mean to be ungrateful for all the great works that the devs do. I don't agree with that one change, but like, I'm not trying to bash anybody or like. But I agree with you. If they had said that, if they just come out and said, hey, we know this is unpopular, but this is how we want it. This is how we want the server to be.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that. Like, it's your server, man. Like, okay. Like, if I don't like it, I can go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right. But that isn't what they said. So
and we may not
I think you're right about that.
We may not be paying, but we are dumping a lot of time into the game, and there can be like unsettling trends we can see, right? If this is like just a sign of a decision they're making that leads to like more changes in the future, and you're like, do I want to dump another like 500 hours into this server? And when if they're just gonna disappoint me,
I'll tell you, that's one of the biggest red flags about it for me. People asked me before that change if I thought that those RMT changes were coming, because there was a lot of rumors about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no. I said, no way. They're not going to do that. They're not going to make such a fundamental change.
I think you and I dismissed it on the podcast, like a few
we might have.
ago. Like completely dismissed it 100%. This is not happening.
I was completely sure they wouldn't do something like that because it's such a fundamental change to what's great about the server. It's like one of the selling points of the server is it's the way it used to be. And so the fact that they changed that makes you wonder, like, well, there's a lot of clamor for this to be Wings era, right? A lot of people say, oh, you should include Dancer at least and Skull. Like, I hear that shit a lot. And it's like, if they did that, that would be a big disappointment to me.
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted that, I'd go play on the Wings server. Like, I want it to be what it is. Like at least get all the Ad Ergonet stuff in first, right? But again, ultimately, we'll see where they go with it. But yeah, that's a great point about the time spent. We've all spent a lot of time on this, and it'd be disappointing if things turned. I mean, that's the risk you play with any game. I mean, look at what happened in retail, right?
Yeah.
We all spent years of our lives playing the retail version, and it turned into something that's nothing like what it used to be, which is, I mean, it's why WoW Classic exists too, right? It's just a thing. All right, I think we've gone over a little bit here. But that happens a little bit in Final Fantasy land. It's hard to get anything done in a small amount of time when it comes to Final Fantasy 11. So, any final thoughts from you, gentlemen, before I go through our contact information? Okay. All right. Well, if you have thoughts on Final Fantasy 11, if you want to tell me why I'm so wrong about the RMT changes and I should just suck it up, or if you want to tell me something that that you agree with me, or if you want to tell me anything or any of us anything about Final Fantasy 11, we would love to hear from you. This is the Focus Target podcast. We're on Twitter at Focus Target. We have a YouTube page where all of our old episodes are Focus Target podcast on YouTube. Our email is still the best way to get a hold of us, focustargetpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, we're streaming live on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Focus Target podcast. So, for episode 103 of the Focus Target podcast, I am your host, Smiley.
This is Shai.
And I'm Van. As always, cover us, Porkins. We're out.